Hi, welcome to Steph's World, Spiritual Foundations 43. I've done a few that I have not publicized, not yet. I have my reasons for that, and I just don't feel that right now is the time for me to bring those videos out yet, but I will. There will come a time when they will come out. But in the meantime, I want to continue kind of where I left off, before, and talk about our world and what's going on in it, and the fact that I'm going to give you what I feel is happening in our world right now. I'm going to tell you my feelings, what I see online, what I hear from people online, my own experiences with people that I've been recently had. In fact, they're a little disturbing, shall I say. Let's start here. I'm 59 years old. I had 3 children. I was married 4 times. And you might ask, 4 times? Whoa, why? Oh my God. No, it's really sad. Why? My first marriage, my first husband broke my neck and almost killed me. And that's what I'm not going to get into right now. That's why when I say I had a broken neck, that's where it came from. I was 18 years old. I was very young. And thank God I had a gymnastic type body, because I had done gymnastics and ballet and all of that. So physically, I was in really good health as far as elasticity and all of that. And that's why the doctors now, today, the ones that I've dealt with, feel that the spinal cord actually did not break. And I don't think he had the strength to actually break that, but he did have the strength to break a whole bunch of vertebrae. Let's leave it at that. And I want you to know something. Do I hate that man? No, not a bit. I don't think I even hated him, even when everything was over with and I was away from him, and he had kept me prisoner for a long time, for about 4 or 5 months. And during that time, it was so abusive, I really don't even want to talk about it right now. But I will say this. A miracle happened during that time, and God got me out of it. If you don't believe in God, maybe you will whenever I get my book published. Maybe then you'll believe in God. Maybe then you'll believe in miracles. Anyway, so that's how the neck got broken. Now, so many vertebrae were destroyed that it took a lot of years to finally get to the point where I finally went to a doctor and said, help, help, help. And they just simply took an x-ray and went, oh my God, we have a terribly serious problem here. And the next thing I knew, 3 spinal operations later, I was fused from here to here. My whole cervical spine, other than the very, very top one, and that's a little bit different. That's almost your skull, okay? They try not to do that unless it is so bad that they have no other choice. But my whole cervical spine is completely fused, and the first, or the first vertebrae in my T-spine is fused too. Now, my lower spine, several are fused down there, plus I have a very special type of operation that they gave me in the hopes that it would be better than the old typical 2 rods put in. Well, sadly, that didn't work out. So, to be honest with you, I'm a miracle, walking miracle. I can still walk. Now, my right or left leg does give out on me. If I sit too long, my legs don't work. So there are issues. Things are not perfect, and I'm in quite a bit of pain. So, but it's life. That's just part of life. Some of us have to live that way, and some don't. Now, I have a theory on it, but right now I don't want to talk about that theory. I have written about it, and I'd be happy to share that blog sometime. Whoever's interested, I'll be happy to share it. Now, I don't date. It's not that I wouldn't go on a date. It's just that it's not been in my life right now. It'll take a special man, because that man would have to understand that I am disabled or I am challenged. And so I think it takes a really special person to be able to deal with that, to have some understanding of it, even when they're not challenged. Frankly, so far, I've only met a few people like that, and one of them passed away 6 months before my son. And he was my best friend. Now, we tried the dating thing, but it didn't work out. Yes, another thing that's happened to me, I've had a stroke. That happened during my last cervical operation. They warned me that it could happen, and it did. If you ever notice it, one of my eyes droops. That's part of the stroke that I had. And then I had one other great big brain problem. I had a brain aneurysm. Sometimes I have great difficulty getting the right words out. It's like word salad. It doesn't mean I'm stupid, not by any means. Nothing in my brain, as far as intelligence goes, has changed. Not a thing. But what has changed is my ability to get what's inside my brain out through this mouth. That has changed. Now, I do the best I can, and sometimes when I don't pronounce a word correctly, you'll have to forgive me. It's difficult, but I do the best that I can. My family seems okay with it. I don't know if they even notice it, to be honest with you. Now, I want to talk again about our world and what's happening. I've been meditating every single day. Deep, deep meditation. Going so far in, I've never gone this far in my life. And that's good. It's a good thing. I've even had visions during this time. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's true. I can't help whether you believe it or not, okay? But I'm going to tell you that it is true. I don't understand all the visions I have. Now, what I should be doing, and I did, I wrote down some at the beginning of this month or a couple of weeks ago. I wrote them down. One of them already came true. I can tell you that for a fact. The other two, I don't know because I can't even remember what they are right now. I'd have to get them out of my special little place and read them. Well, it's not time to read them. I've made a decision that I will read what these visions are. And if I have any more that are really strong, like these were, I'll write them down and add them to the group. And then at the end of the month, I'll read the ones that I had first. I can tell you that. Okay, now let's talk about more things about this world. You know, I have seen so much stuff online. I have read a lot about some people think that one of our world leaders might be the Antichrist, okay? And others think that one of our world leaders is like a savior or something. Well, let's talk about what is going on in the world. Are we really going into what we call the New World Order? Or are we doing something different than that? That's my question. And that is what I wonder about and where we're headed. Now, I'm not going to look into the future because that's not what I'm supposed to do. And I don't think any of us should be doing that. But what I am concerned about, or what I do think about, is I think about my grandchildren's future, my children, two children that I have left, their future. I don't worry so much about me. I'm on borrowed time, frankly. And that's how I look at it. I am grateful for every single hour that I have. And I should have had that attitude 59 years ago. You Now, maybe I did have that attitude 59 years ago. I don't know. I don't know, but you know what? I do remember this. When I was a little girl, I was a happy little girl. Man, I was just happy, happy, happy. Happy as can be. Oh, man, my hair is killing me. I got it in like a ponytail. There's so much it gets in my way. No, I'm not going to cut it all off. Sorry. Anyway, I want to talk about, and I'm going to write about some of this, only it's going to be much more intense. My writing doesn't seem to be affected as much by my ability to get the words out, by the brain damage, okay? I seem to be able to be able to write the right words. The word salad isn't that I don't know the words at all times, it's that I can't pronounce them. And no matter how hard I try, I just have great difficulty with it. And I probably need work with that. I probably need to get a speech therapist to help me. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. It doesn't interfere in my life that much. So what's the point? Okay. So here we have a world that we have a lot of controversy going on especially in the United States, about what's happening to our country. Now, I looked out the window a little bit ago because I heard a bunch of kids playing and having a wonderful time. And you know what? It was my neighbors, and they all looked like they were just having a wonderful, great time. They didn't seem too concerned about what was going on in the world today. They were taking it 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time. And that is probably the way we need to be living. What do you think? I know I'm a lot happier in life. I feel more balanced inside when I live like that. When I don't try to think about the future and what might happen tomorrow, or even what is going to happen later today, I am a perfectly happy and contented woman. Now, let's think about a little something here. Our children are always that way. Have you ever noticed that? They're always that way. Do you remember when you were a child? Think about it. Do you remember that? I'll bet you were like that. I bet you didn't think about tomorrow at all. I bet the only thing you were thinking about was, I'm having fun. I'm having a great time. I'll bet that's all you cared about. What do you think? Now, I'm going off of when I was a child. Now, I'm not going to say there weren't times when I was wishing that moment would go away as quickly as possible. Those were the times of the spankings and the punishments for the stupid things that I might have done as a kid. When I was a child, now remember, this is 50 years ago, parents spanked a lot. That was just the norm. And the reason parents spanked so much, not every parent did, but a lot of parents did. I've heard a lot of people my age talk about their childhoods. Sounds a lot like mine. And it wasn't that our parents hated us. In fact, one of my dad's favorite sayings was, "This is going to hurt me worse than you." I'll never forget that, because I used to think, how is this going to hurt you when you're the one who's got the belt out and beating my butt with the belt? How is this going to hurt you? Well, I think it probably did. I think my dad really did want a good childhood for his children. He had 6 kids. And I believe with all my heart that he really did hurt. I was his oldest child. I was his tiniest child. I was his beloved daughter. And I looked more Irish than I did the Native American that my mother is. I looked more like his family than her family. So I know that my dad hurt like heck when he had to spank any of us and do that hard, difficult punishment that they did 50 years ago. Now, let's think about something. Where do you think that came from? Do you suspect that my father might have had a tough growing up too? Because I do. I know a little bit about his growing up, and I happen to know that it wasn't an easy time. It was during the Depression. It was not an easy time. He came from a family of 7 children, 8 actually, but one of them passed away. It was a stillborn child. And even though that child was stillborn, my grandmother suffered in her heart at losing that baby. I know she did. I heard about it, and I talked to my grandma when she was older at length about many things. I wanted to know about her life and how she did it, raising 7 children during the Depression. You know, for those of you who don't even really understand what the Depression was, let me tell you how bad it was. Men were standing in lines, waiting to see if there was a job for the day. It wasn't a job for so many years. It was a job for a day. Men and women would stand in line to get food for their children and their family. That's how bad it was. If you think you got it bad now, get on your computer and read up about the Great Depression. I heard about it all my life from both my parents. It's all they could talk about. They told us about it. They told us how great we had it. And guess what? They were right. They considered their lives a life of survival. Survival. Some people didn't make it. Okay, now, so that's how my parents grew up. So, my grandparents lived their lives in a different way than what we could ever understand. Maybe because they had to. And I can remember stories that my dad would tell. He didn't tell too much, but some of the stuff he did tell, we kids would laugh about, but deep down inside we were also thinking, thank goodness we don't have to live like that. And then we'd grab our play guns and our bows and arrows, because I used to play bow and Indians and riflemen outside, and I was always the Indian. And don't ask me why, because I didn't know that my mother was a quarter Shawnee. Had no idea. I was just a kid playing with all the other kids. And they were all boys. I was the only girl. But I was a tomboy. And all my life, you would know that if you knew what my life was like. But anyway, there were a few things, though, that happened during childhood when we grew up, my generation, that wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. There were times when we as children felt terrified. I don't mean scared, I mean terrified. Absolutely terrified. Terrified of what, you might ask? Let's say something happened at school and our teacher or the nun sent home a note for our parents. And let's say your mother said, wait till your father gets home. For some of us, that could have been terrifying. And the whole time that we had to sit there and wait, we might look outside while it was snowing and everybody else might be thinking, God, that sure is beautiful. But we might be thinking, oh boy, I hope I don't get beat to death tonight. Because that's how it felt. That was terrifying. Now, fortunately, we had those other days when we lived for the moment and we had a fabulous time. Now, I'm going to tell you something. When I was young, I must have been about 9, 10 years old, I wanted to play the guitar. I wanted to play it. That was the instrument that I wanted to play. I wanted to play it so bad. I begged my parents to let me learn how to play it. But the nuns at our grade school wanted me to play clarinet so I could be in the little elementary school band. They didn't care what I wanted. What they cared about was what they wanted for the school band. Well, I played clarinet for about 6 months, and then that was it. I loved music. I absolutely loved it, but I wasn't going to play clarinet. I wanted to play guitar, but I knew pushing the guitar thing wasn't going to cut it, so I just let it go. Now, that was when I was a kid. Just a few little tidbits. Now, when I raised my children, I thought to myself before my children came, this is way before the children popped on out. I used to tell myself, first I'd say, I'm never having any kids, okay? I really thought that. I really did not desire to have children. Well, it doesn't usually work out that way, especially when I grew up, the time that I grew up. They didn't have birth control down that good. And I came from about the most fertile family known to man. But anyway, I will say this. When I did have my children, I loved them so much. Those babies were everything to me. Everything. I loved those, each and every one of my babies. And I was a wild thing. My first child was from a black man, but I didn't care. I liked him. I wish I would have married him. He was a good man, and he would have made a great father. I can tell you that right now. But I didn't marry him. And I'm not going to get into what all happened, but I loved our baby. I loved him with all my heart. And then I had 2 more children. Now this was with a different father. Their father was Norwegian, full-blooded Norwegian, both sides of his family. And that's why my other 2 children looked, they were very big boned, and just really big boned, because the Norwegian people seem to be very well built people. And here I am, teeny tiny Steph. And my kids grew up and started, and they were gigantor compared to their mother. But anyway, now my oldest son, he was tiny like me. Now he was 6 foot tall, but he was real thin, and his bones were small for a man, and they still are. And he had my hair color and everything, and he was a little blonder and redder then, but it was curly, real curly. It was kind of cool, actually. Um, and his skin coloring was a little bit darker than his grandma's. And I'll never forget when she first saw him, she thought, oh, in fact, her exact words were, oh, wonderful, we got a dark-skinned baby just like me. It was hilarious because I knew why he was dark-skinned. It was a few years before they knew it. But anyway, let's get back to the kids and our desires for them. I had great desires for my children, dreams, visions. Oh, I wanted them to become something. And maybe that was a problem. I had these dreams and these visions for them. And maybe I should have just shut up and let my children follow their desires and what they wanted to do early in life. They picked up their own desires and they did their own little things. And that is what I didn't promote. And why didn't I? Because I was selfish. I was a selfish woman. And I thought I knew better than God what my children should become in this world. Yeah, I did. And when they were doing things at 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7 years old, I didn't promote everything. I tried to steer them away to what I thought they should do. Because I thought I knew better. I forgot about when I was a little girl and what I liked to do and how my parents listened to the nuns and didn't let me do the things that I wanted to do. I forgot. You know what? We've got to stop forgetting. We have to start remembering about our children, about our grandchildren, and even about our great-grandchildren, because they're the ones who are going to be making the decisions for us if we're even still around. It will be their world. So what do we want them to do with this world that we all live in? Something to think about. Well, I love you all. We'll let you go. Talk to you soon.